I woke up to the usual dull throb behind my eyes. Another Tuesday, I guess. The Lower East Side apartment, small and a bit too dusty, always felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for me to do something, anything. I dragged myself to the old piano, the one that probably saw better days with some forgotten jazz cat in the 50s. My fingers, they just felt like lumps of clay, clumsy and useless as they fumbled over the keys. Notes came out, sure, but they were disjointed, thin, they wouldn't weave together, they wouldn't form anything. Nothing that felt real, nothing that felt like me. I had this feeling, like I was just a background noise in the city. A wrong note, like the blueprint said. Everybody else out there, they were conducting symphonies, painting masterpieces, building empires. And here I was, Arthur Vance, almost 30, a musician who couldn't find a tune, a writer who couldn't string two decent words together. It was a joke, honestly. I tried to focus, I really did, but the music felt miles away, just static. I leaned my forehead against the cold wood of the piano for a moment, letting out a long, slow sigh that sounded more like a wheeze. Then I pushed away, walking to the window that overlooked the street. New York, always humming, always moving. That's when I saw him. Down below, near the corner, a guy with a battered violin case. He was playing. And it wasn't just playing, it was magnetic. The sound, even from up here, was clear and bright, cutting through the usual city drone. It made you stop, made you want to listen. His fingers danced, fast and precise, coaxing incredible melodies from that old instrument. Every stroke of his bow, every subtle bend of a note, it just flowed. I stood there, watching, a knot of something ugly tightening in my gut. Call it envy. Call it pure, unadulterated failure. Another Tuesday, all right, and I was still nothing. Just another guy looking out a window while someone else was living out loud. Later that afternoon, the feeling just wouldn't leave me, that nagging insignificance. I needed a distraction, something, anything, to get out of my own head. My gaze fell on a crumpled flyer under a stack of old sheet music. The Curious Corner, Rare Finds and Lost Treasures. It was an old second-hand shop in Greenwich Village that I'd walked past 100 times but never bothered to enter. Maybe, I thought, just maybe, a change of scenery. A different kind of junk to sort through. A little trip, get some air. Anything was better than staring at those blank sheet music pages, listening to the echoes of my own musical failures. So I grabbed my keys, shoved my hands into my pockets, and headed out into the crisp, indifferent air of the city. The shop was crammed, dim, and smelled like old wood and forgotten things. Dust motes danced in the lone shaft of sunlight slicing through a grimy window. I walked past stacks of yellowed books, cracked porcelain figures, and clothes that looked like they belonged to ghosts. Most of it felt like just stuff, not interesting, not stirring. But then I saw it. Tucked away in a dark corner, almost hidden behind a tall, wobbly pile of vinyl records. A music box. It wasn't fancy in a sparkling new way. It was old, very old. The wood was dark, almost black, and felt smooth, worn down by countless fingers over centuries, probably. Intricate carvings spiraled across its surface, symbols I didn't recognize, symbols that looked wrong somehow, like they were meant to be hidden, not displayed. And its mechanism, it was a subtle catch on the side, almost invisible.
I reached out, almost unconsciously, and my fingers grazed the cold, smooth wood. A sudden, sharp chill ran up my arm, clear as ice water, making me flinch. It wasn't just cold wood, it felt alive, like something had just brushed against my soul. Just old wood, I mumbled to myself, mostly to dismiss the way my skin prickled. The shop owner, a man with a beard like steel wool and eyes that had seen too much, just grunted when I asked about it. "Found it in a box of old junk," he simply said, not even looking up from his newspaper. I bought it. Some strange impulse just took over, like it was meant to be mine, like it was waiting for me. I paid the man, and I swear, his eyes, when he finally looked at me, held a flicker of something. Pity? Or something else I couldn't quite place.
I just wanted to get out of that dusty place with the cold box tucked under my arm, back to my quiet apartment. Back in my apartment, the music box sat on my coffee table, drawing my gaze. It glowed in the muted light, almost with a faint, unsettling aura. I kept running my fingers over the strange carvings. They felt like tiny, raised scars. I tried to dismiss the cold I felt earlier, the odd prickle on my skin. Just my imagination, probably. I was tired, beyond tired. But then I remembered the violinist, the easy, flowing grace of his playing, the way the music had just been there. That was something I craved, a desperation, a raw longing twisted inside me. I picked up the box, turning it over in my hands. The subtle catch. I fumbled with it, then it clicked open. A soft, mournful melody, like something ancient and regretful, began to play. It wasn't loud, just a delicate, eerie tune that seemed to float from nowhere and everywhere at once. And then it happened. A jolt. Not just a shiver, but a surge of pure, raw energy that shot through me, from my fingertips down to my toes, like a static shock amplified 1,000 times. It buzzed in my bones, vibrated in my teeth. My head felt light, strangely clear. I closed my eyes, reeling from the sudden rush. When I opened them again, I was sitting on the edge of my bed. My hands were different. They quivered slightly, but with an unfamiliar tension, a readiness. I looked down at my guitar, still leaning against the wall. And, without thinking, my fingers moved. Not clumsily, not hesitantly. They just moved. They danced over the strings, finding chords, shapes, notes I'd never been able to play with such ease. And in my head, a music started. Not from the guitar, but a violin tune, clear as crystal, flowing with the same effortless artistry I'd witnessed on the street earlier that day. Every draw of the bow, every subtle vibrato, I felt it. It was like the instrument was a part of me, a natural extension of my own thoughts, even though I wasn't holding a bow and strings. It wasn't my guitar making this sound, not really. It was in my mind, a complete, perfect rendition of a complex piece, intertwining with the ghostly, almost there melodies of the music box. It was exhilarating and horrifying. My own breath hitched. What the hell was that? The next day, I couldn't stay away. I had to know. I found him again, the street musician, playing in his usual spot. But something was off. His movements, usually so fluid, were hesitant, like he was thinking too hard about what his fingers should be doing. His music, while still good, lacked that spark,
That vibrant confidence I'd seen yesterday. It sounded muted. I stood there for a long time, just watching him. Then a thought flickered. Could I do it again? Could I take something? I closed my eyes for a split second, focusing on the violinist, on the music. I didn't mean to. It was just a feeling, an urge. And then that jolt again, that electric hum. And in my head, the violin music swelled, clearer, stronger, more complex than anything he was playing now. The next thing I knew, the guy stopped, mid-note. He looked around, disoriented, like he'd just woken up from a dream. His eyes were unfocused, hazy. He actually fumbled, his bow slipping from his hand and clattering to the pavement. He bent down, slow and lumbering, to pick it up, his movements almost clumsy. He looked so lost, so utterly bewildered. My throat felt dry. "What's wrong with him?" I mumbled, a whisper lost in the city noise. I looked away, a strange tremor running up my own arm. Back in my apartment, I tried to play my guitar, but my fingers felt wrong. A dull ache had started in my wrist, right where the nerve runs. It got sharper, a real sting, a deep throb. Like carpal tunnel syndrome, even though I hadn't touched a violin in my life. Certainly not enough to get an injury like that. "I don't remember hitting anything," I said to the empty room, flexing my hand. It didn't help. I went to the small, grimy bathroom mirror. My reflection stared back, but it wasn't quite me, not entirely. My eyes, usually a kind of muddy brown, seemed a little deeper, a little sadder. A weariness I hadn't earned. Must be lack of sleep, I tried to tell myself, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Yeah, just lack of sleep. The smile felt wrong, stretched. It started small, you know, that itch, that craving for more. The sheer raw power of